Hello from OG Benchmarks. The past holidays were some high times in Casa OG. Most of the story is about the upgrade on the screen, but there's a bit more to it than just that. I do need to lay a bit of groundwork. The upgrade was needed because of a few bad decisions, or at least questionable decisions on my part. These decisions led to the need for a PC upgrade over the holidays. The story mostly starts back in July 2019. The world was a different place in 2019, and my kids were getting old enough to need a PC. Back in 2019, I knew very little about PCs. I saw this Lenovo AIO all-in-one on Amazon, a computer that combined a screen with a keyboard and mouse and webcam. Sounded like a great idea. It was such a great idea that we actually bought a second one a month later. I did quickly learn that my son wanted to play games that this machine couldn't really handle. We outgrew this computer in no time. Of course, we didn't have much time to worry about that because the new year in 2020 changed the world. I will say that the built-in webcams were a big bonus, so my younger kids could work on a real PC instead of doing online school on a Chromebook. Strangely, my oldest actually preferred the Chromebook. We survived into summer 2020. By the summer, I had spent a lot of time on YouTube and learned a bit more about computers. I decided to get my son a PC that was better at gaming. That would also give us 3 PCs for all 3 kids. While I knew more about PCs, I didn't have the confidence to build one from scratch. Based off a video by the Toasty Bros, I picked up a pre-built from Light Technologies. In hindsight, I should have built one on my own, but I didn't feel ready. The image is the case, a Gamdius Talos. It's really pretty, prettier than the PC's performance. Still, in July 2020, GPUs were just starting to get scarce, so we actually got this system just in time before things went off the rails. It has an Ivy Bridge i5, an RX 570, that's the 4 gig model, and just 8 gigabytes of RAM. Actually, at the time, 8 gigabytes was okay. People were just beginning to push for 16 gigabytes to become the norm for a gaming PC. The $640 price tag was okay. Of course, that included shipping. Although this wasn't a perfect purchase and I have a few regrets, my son loved it, mostly because it looked great. We did tweak the system over time. I almost immediately installed a small tower cooler. The included downdraft cooler was terrible, as in occasional crashing terrible. In November, I tried to upgrade the RAM to DDR3 1866. I had no idea what I was doing. I was just trying to imitate smarter people I saw on YouTube. The system started crashing regularly. I blamed the RAM, but now I know better. I suspect I was the problem. I never configured RAM speeds in the BIOS, so that was almost certainly user error, not bad hardware. By Christmas 2021, my son was really pushing the system to its limits. I upgraded the CPU to a 4-core 8-thread Xeon, got it up to 16 gigabytes of RAM, and moved around the case fans to improve airflow. Still, the real problem was the GPU. At higher graphics settings, my son was hitting the VRAM limit and weird things would happen, like he'd lose game audio. That's when it happened. Crypto crashed and GPU prices dropped with it. This is the opportunity. I picked up some parts for a complete rebuild for Christmas 2022. Here is the rebuild. Everything was upgraded except the case and power supply. I picked up a Ryzen 5 5500. That's not a powerhouse, but it's perfect for 1080p gaming. The price was around $100. I got a $50 AM4 A320 motherboard. I did need to update the BIOS to accept the CPU. Fortunately, I do have an old Raven Ridge APU, the 2400 GE, that let me refresh the BIOS from its factory version. I bought that 2400 GE for a different purpose and paid a very high price for it, but the different purpose was a complete bust. I made a video about that mess. At least that CPU served some good for me. The GPU was a GTX 1660 Super that I bought new on AliExpress for $120. I made a video about that GPU. I also picked up a 16 gigabyte kit of RAM for about $45 and a 1 terabyte SSD for $50. I spent about $250 on Amazon and $120 on AliExpress for a grand total of about $370. That includes shipping. Everything was bought new. Had I gone used, I could have gotten an RX 6600 for a little more, but I did not want to deal with the uncertainty. The 1660 Super should be fine for 1080p. Maybe I did cheap out a little. Time will tell whether that was a good or a bad decision. Here are some synthetic benchmarks, Cinebench and Heaven. These numbers compare the upgraded system, the Xeon with 4 cores, 8 threads, and 16 gigabytes of RAM against the complete rebuild. The Ryzen CPU carves up the Ivy Bridge in both single core and multi-core. The 1660 Super also mops the floor with the RX 570. Heaven values are FPS, not the raw benchmark score. Despite these numbers, which I thought were convincing, my son was very skeptical the new system would be better. I'll just say he's very pleased with the upgrades. He was playing Stormworks and commenting on how much more quickly the background terrain updates and how much more responsive the system is. I have no delusions that this system is the peak of 1080p gaming, but I think it will take care of his needs for a while. That's great, but his needs aren't the only ones in the house. My daughter wants something better too. The picture on the screen is an Acer pre-built. My wife got this at the start of 2019. It was fine for her, but the killer was the hard drive. It was terribly slow and only got slower over time. I had some parts and built her a newer Intel system with an M.2 drive, and that left this PC unused. The RX 570 from my son's old PC went into this Acer, along with a new SSD to add a bit more responsiveness, and a case fan for rear exhaust. This case fan gave the Acer some active ventilation because it had absolutely zero as originally built. All these parts were already on hand, so it didn't cost a thing to upgrade this Acer. Now, I will confess that I'm stretching the factory PSU to its limit. This Acer has a 300 watt power supply, and the RX 570 draws up to 150. While gaming, I haven't seen the wall power read higher than 220 watts, with 150 to 190 being typical during gaming. That's the wall power, which is more than the PSU will be delivering. Still, it's something to keep an eye on. This upgraded system is now in the hands of my younger daughter. My daughter has noticed a huge difference in performance over the Lenovo AIO system. One of her favorite games is Raft, and she likes the game better with higher graphics settings. It's always nice when the water actually looks like water. She's also a huge fan of Creatures of Sonaria, a Roblox game. Character movement is way smoother now. Of course, Roblox tends to be more CPU limited. Overall, though, she's liking it. That is the full PC upgrade story for the OG family. Everyone is happy and gaming. Hopefully, grades won't drop this spring. Thanks for watching to the end. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment or a question. Take care.